Kia ora and welcome to this episode of The Amateur Austenite. I'm Frances Duncan, author, Austenite life coach. With me is Rachel Pilwar, book buyer, Austenite, and all-round nerd.
Hi!
Today we're discussing chapter 47 of Emma. Oh my god. In chapter 47, Emma goes to tell Harriet about Frank. Harriet already knows. Why aren't you upset? Well, I don't like Frank. And Emma's like, oh god, who do you like? And it's Mr. Knightley. I mean, Emma's like, no, but he's mine. Dun dun.
Awkward!
Emma's beating herself up, as she has been doing a lot of, actually, let's be fair. For Harriet to be a second time the dupe of her misconceptions and flattery.
I fucked up again. Why can't I find this woman an appropriate husband?
She thinks that she could have prevented Harriet liking Frank. Her influence would have been enough. No, Harriet, don't like that guy. Okay, cool.
No. Harriet did like Mr. Martin, and Emma was able to talk her out of that, for the most part. If Harriet had liked Frank, Emma probably could have talked her out of liking Frank. But the only way I think Emma would have accomplished it this time would have been saying, no, Frank is mine.
Awkward bit that happens in a couple of chapters when Emma's like, no, he's actually mine, and Harriet's heartbroken. Your friend told you that she liked this guy, and then you go and get engaged to him? That's pretty shitty.
It was pretty shitty. It sucks for Harriet because Emma goes and gets engaged to the guy she likes, but that guy didn't propose to you, he proposed to Emma. He liked her, not you.
And there was no chance he was ever going to actually be into Harriet.
If he had proposed to Emma and Emma said no, and then he'd gone for Harriet, okay, you sacrificed your love for your friend, and it would suck because she's the second choice, but Harriet had no shot. And Emma shouldn't give up her happiness or Mr. Knightley's happiness to save Harriet's feelings.
When it's a schoolgirl crush.
Yeah. She's so flighty. She likes Mr. Knightley now, but she wouldn't like him forever.
It's still uncomfortable, though.
Yeah. But say, like, Emma did give up Mr. Knightley so that Harriet could have him, well, then that's never going to happen, and eventually Emma's going to be sad, and then Harriet's not going to end up with Mr. Knightley because he would never do it, and then eventually she probably would go back to Robert Martin. Emma would then feel weird and awkward and sad because then she had given up Mr. Knightley. We get to the point in this book where actually there's very little way to salvage the current friendship Harry and Emma have.
Because Emma has done her so wrong.
In so many ways. The only way Harriet would end up truly happy is to be with the person who Emma persuaded her against, and that's Mr. Martin. And that's luckily what happened. She could have been happy the whole time with Mr. Martin rather than going through multiple heartbreaks because of Emma.
There's a great line of Emma's, with common sense, I'm afraid I have had little to do.
Yeah, we know. We've been screaming at you reading this entire book because of your lack of common sense, Emma.
Emma realises that Jane saw her as a rival, but her days of insignificance and evil are over. She's going to be well and happy and prosperous, and she deserves all of that.
Yeah, she really does. Jane deserves the best.
They're going to keep it secret because Mrs. Churchill has recently died, except that Emma is going to tell Harriet it is her duty.
Like, she's dead, and we've got to seem like we're grieving and not celebrating the fact she's dead by finally getting engaged. So we're still keeping it a secret even though we're now allowed to be engaged. And even though now people know it's going to get through Highbury, it's probably not going to get out of Highbury that quickly, but surely someone's going to say something. Mrs. Elton's definitely written a letter to the Sucklings.
When Emma and Mr. Knightley get engaged, they tell one person they're aware that it will spread through the neighbourhood. The same thing will happen here. We don't talk about it, but also, do you know that they're engaged?
We listen and we don't just...
But you are supposed to be in mourning when somebody dies, so you don't get married within a certain period of time. And because the mourning rules seem to shift so much, it's hard to know what they are. Mr. Weston and Mrs. Weston are both thinking about their mourning wear that they'll need for his sister-in-law and son's stepmother, and he still has to wear some level of mourning, but it's not clear how much mourning, whether it's full black or black bands or...
When they say black bands, I've never quite understood what it means.
You know how they do sports games and stuff and they put a band around their upper arm as a sign of... Yeah. I think during this time they would trim things with black. It's just to indicate to people that you're not there to socialise and have a good time, so you can sit somewhere quietly, because it would be unseemly for someone whose aunt just died, supposedly, to be having a big party. Emma's decided to tell Harriet, even though she's not supposed to tell anybody.
Which is also kind of shitty of her. But hey, buddy, respect people's privacy.
She's in the role of Mrs. Weston, having to have the same distressing and delicate conversation. But Harriet turns up and is like, oh, isn't this the oddest news? Mr. Weston told me, even though it's a great secret.
How are you not upset about this?
What is happening? I don't understand.
And Emma was fully prepared to just look at her embroidery and not meet Harriet's eye. Actually, Harriet's totally fine.
I'm really confused. I thought I knew you. What's going on? I thought you liked Frank. No. Emma waits in great terror till Harriet answers to tell her who it is. He's so superior to Mr. Frank Churchill. Oh shit. Do you mean Mr. Knightley?
I do not know who'd ever look at him in the company of the other. Frank's not even on her radar. I want to scream. It's not quite so bad as the picnic scene, but it's another one where my secondhand embarrassment just gets so like, oh my god, and I'm cringing on the inside, and I feel like my stomach is trying to tear itself into shreds to be like, just skip it, don't do it.
It brings back the couple of chapters ago where they're talking about, oh, you have a crush on somebody who you can never be with because they're superior, but because of the service that they rendered you. Harriet's like, yeah, I was thinking of a much more precious circumstance. Not Frank Churchill, Mr. Knightley coming and asking me to dance when Mr. Elton would not stand up with me.
And I mean, she's not wrong. It is a very gallant gesture. But also, girl, it's just polite. It means nothing to him. He does it because you're the friend of the woman he loves.
You told me that matches of greater disparity had taken place, so why not? Mr. Knightley might be into me. Sure. Do you think that he returns your affection? Yep.
I must say that I have.
What? Oh my god.
And she's internally screaming and staring into space in shock.
And realizes Mr. Knightley must marry no one but herself.
It darted through her with the speed of an arrow. I love Austen's writing in this scene. I feel like you've had many awkward conversations with your friends, Jane, because it just feels so real. The sudden realization, the awkwardness, the having to just sit there numbly for a moment while you process.
The true humanness of it. She's never had this clarity before. Harriet has done nothing to make me angry at her. I can't slight her when I continue to lead her wrong. Neither of them are thinking of each other. They're only thinking about Mr. Knightley and themselves.
It didn't occur to either of them that they could like the same guy.
And they're both having these huge emotions about it. Harriet because she's finally getting to talk to someone about it, and Emma because she's just like, no, but I love him, you can't.
And Emma hadn't even realized that she loved him. So she's like reckoning with her own feelings on top of realizing that her friend did. She only realizes when someone else likes him, and then it's like the jealousy thing. Why is this the catalyst? Surely you should have seen it before. It can be really hard to see things when you're in it yourself.
You don't know where you got till it's gone.
Yeah.
They're both emotional, and Harriet's telling Emma all of her wishes and hopes and dreams and her evidence that Mr. Knightley's into her. Both of them are trembling, but Emma conceals it better than Harriet, but they're both at the same level of emotion. And it's just another example of Emma governing herself to not upset other people.
Yeah, being considerate of other people's feelings when actually what she really wants to do is scream. They're both in this very emotional state. It's all about a guy. Does this pass the Bechdel test?
I'm not sure it does. I think they only ever really talk about guys.
It may barely. There might be like one conversation, but I can't think of what it would be off the top of my head. I feel like maybe it would be like something between like Jane and Emma, or even talking about Jane's piano. It's like, which man gave her the piano? That Mrs. Elton's talking, she mentions the Sucklings or her husband. It is almost all women talking about men, and I feel like this scene especially, they're both in this emotional state, but it's all because of a guy, and that's all they mostly seem to talk about. Way early on when they're talking about the riddles. They're talking about these riddles because they're making the book, but then they're mostly talking about Mr. Elton's riddle and stuff, you know, when they're breaking it down. It's still kind of revolving around him. Another scene where it's them only talking about the guy, not talking about themselves. They don't talk about their friendship. They don't talk about each other or really to each other as much. They're just like, Miss Knightley. It seems very high school, and it's like, I know Emma's only like, you know, she's supposed to be, 20, 22 or something like
21.
that. 21. And Harriet's supposed to be younger, but this is a scene as well where I feel like Emma, yes, she's regulating her emotions to be considerate of others, which is a more mature thing, but it does still feel like a very high school girl emotional kind of
It's
thing.
the first time that Emma's really had big feelings for somebody. Frank wasn't as big a feeling. Probably going to have all the intensity of the big high school feelings because it's her first real big feelings for somebody. She's honest and considerate. Mr. Knightley is the last man in the world who would intentionally give any woman the idea of his feeling more for her than he really does, and it kills her to say it.
This just shows that Emma knows Mr. Knightley so much better than Harriet does. It would be impossible for Harriet to know him better than Emma because Emma's known him her whole life. But still, Harriet, you don't know this guy at all.
She thinks that Harriet has a superior degree of confidence with Mr. Knightley because Mr. Knightley stayed with her when he came to say goodbye, even saying that he couldn't stay 5 minutes and he didn't really want to leave at all. Obviously, Harriet went, he doesn't want to leave me, and he stayed to talk to me.
Yeah, not he stayed for Emma, to see Emma before he went.
Harriet leaves because she's all emotional and doesn't want to upset Mr. Woodhouse. Oh God, that I had never seen her. I wish I'd never met her.
That's kind of rough. And it's also, again, it shows that Emma doesn't really have as much of a regard for Harriet. Emma, if you would give up a friendship with someone because you both like the same guy, then were you ever really friends?
Well, they weren't. Harriet was a project. Emma can't sit still. She's walking to her room in the shrubbery and every place and every poster. She's freaking out still, trying to figure out these emotions. It uses the word blunders again. I should figure out how many times blunders appear in this book.
Control F.
And she realizes she's always considered Mr. Knightley superior to Frank Churchill, even in the height of her interest in Frank.
She thinks highly of Mr. Knightley above everybody else in her life.
She is upset with herself, so much so that every part of her mind was disgusting, apart from her affection for Mr. Knightley.
Interesting word to use, disgusting. Yeah, she really sees how many bad choices and bad thoughts, just actually how unkind she's been for months in her own behaviour. Her regard for Mr. Knightley is her, saving grace. He's the only person I think good of. Girl, come on, do better.
Insufferable vanity, unpardonable arrogance, and she'd done mischief, brought evil on Harriet and herself, and she's worried Mr. Knightley too. If he marries Harriet, it would be such an unequal relationship, and he would never have met Harriet except for her. She really gets into the classism of it, though. Such an elevation on Harriet's side, such a debasement on his. He will be disdained by his own brother. And she even comes back round to Mr. Martin, calling him an unexceptionable young man. Harriet should have had him.
Wow, you finally see it when she moves in on your guy? Emma has spent the whole novel being like, Harriet, she's got a much higher rank than we think she does. Her father's probably someone wealthy and better off. And now, as soon as it's like, actually, maybe Mr. Knightley thinks that too, even though he's said that Harriet is probably nobody special. She's not worthy of Mr. Knightley, she's not worthy of me. Come on, Emma.
She's blaming herself. Harriet was humble, she's grown vain, it's Emma's fault.
And it is.
Yeah? Harriet was more sensible of Mr. Elton's stooping to marry her than she seems of Mr. Knightley's.
They did really well in Clueless. The Harriet-esque character comes in and then just becomes the popular girl. She becomes kind of bitchy. Harriet doesn't actually become bitchy, but she does start seeing herself as way better than she was at the beginning because of Emma's influence. Emma's had actually a very negative influence on Harriet.
The fact that Mr. Knightley has been shown attention to her is part of the reason, though, that she thinks that it could be a thing.
But that's just because he's a kind, polite person.
He is.
Mr. Knightley being kind and having the basic politeness makes him an outlier here, because Frank hasn't acted that way. Mr. Elton hasn't acted that way. Yes, Mr. Martin does, but once Emma kind of persuades Harriet away from him, the only men who she's seen as eligible otherwise have actually been people who don't have that kindness, who aren't polite. Him showing basic niceties makes it seem like he's in love with her because he's being just genuinely nice. The other men in this book have been dicks. If you can see like a kind gesture as like they're in love with me, it means that people have treated you like shit previously.
We still deal with that now, right? Women like can't be too nice to a guy who thinks you're flirting.
Mm-hmm.
If a guy's nice to you, like, was he flirting with me? Doesn't help that I'm ace and cannot tell. Ace and autistic, like, come on.
Yeah. Like there's obvious times when you're like, if I do something nice or say something nice, this person's going to get the wrong idea. And it's actually, you have to be so careful editing yourself, controlling how you behave. And Emma does that through this whole book, trying to not give people the wrong impression in some ways, especially with Frank. I don't want to marry Frank. And even when she does like him, she's still like, I can never like actually be with him. And so she spends so much of her time being careful, but she never gets that same respect and response. And actually, it's the same with Mr. Elton. Polite to Mr. Elton. She spends time talking to him, but trying to get him with Harriet, and he takes it the wrong way.
Is the message don't be nice to people?
Yeah, I think we just need to be dicks.
Cool. That is our advice.
Be a dick. Be nice to no one.
And that's our discussion of Chapter 47 of Emma. I've been Frances Duncan. This has been Rachel Pilwer.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We wish you happy reading.
Good message to leave on.